You're gonna need a bigger boat.
We're going to tell you about the 14 most important director trademarks of cinema titan Steven Spielberg. But before we get into it, we want to thank Frame.io for sponsoring this video. Frame.io is an amazing collaboration tool for video creators that makes it easy to give and receive feedback on cuts of your videos. In fact, pretty much every Screen Prism video gets made in Frame. There's a great deal on right now if you sign up for Frame.io using our link in the description below. You get 3 months of their pro plan for free. Now, let's talk about Spielberg. You know it's Steven Spielberg if you see what Kevin B. Lee dubbed the Spielberg face. A track or a dolly zoom in on a character who's reacting to something off camera with shock or awe. The Spielberg face is a way of subtly manipulating our emotions. We watch the character staring, gaping, and we're already filled with wonder before we even see what's so wondrous. So by the time we get to view what the character is looking at, our emotional response is exactly what Spielberg wants it to be. The shot is also a way of strongly identifying us with the person. We focus on what they feel, so it's almost like we become them. And even in moments when the character isn't feeling shock or awe, Spielberg uses that dramatic track in to create awe in us. Like in The Color Purple, when Celie finally stands up to her abusive husband.
Everything you've done to me, already done to you.
Or in Amistad, when Singe strings together the few English words he knows to speak up for his freedom.
Give us free.
In these scenes, the track in symbolizes the character's growing power as they take agency in their situation. There's a sweeping score that gets stuck in your head. And it's probably written by composer John Williams. Spielberg often features what he calls wall-to-wall music. So this guides our emotions, urging us to feel a certain something, which is similar to what he's doing with the Spielberg face. Think of how the ominous motif from Jaws makes us tense up with just 2 notes. Williams has said he believes the motif's power comes from its simplicity. And you could say that about Spielberg's filmmaking overall. His tactics are overt and uncomplicated, easy to grasp, but masterfully applied to play our emotions like a fiddle. And through these techniques, the film tells you exactly how to feel. Spielberg is a master of emotional manipulation. He uses all the tools in his toolbox to scare us, move us, and get us to that place of catharsis. So we can sit back and enjoy the ride as we're seamlessly ushered along from emotion to emotion. The narrative equivalent of the Spielberg face is the way the director sometimes creates sentiment before we know why we should care about something. In Saving Private Ryan, he bookends the movie with elderly Private Ryan at the American Cemetery in Normandy. So there's all this emotion directed at what we're about to see even before we experience the plot. Ordinary people are caught up in extraordinary circumstances.
He says these are ordinary people under extraordinary circumstances.
The events seem even more momentous because the people involved aren't used to this kind of danger, excitement, or challenge. So we feel like it could just as easily be us on this thrilling roller coaster ride. As we saw, the Spielberg face helps us identify with the character, and throughout the story, Spielberg is putting us in the character's emotional shoes. Often he's showing us how normal people can be tremendously brave and resourceful when they need to be. So we feel maybe we can be those things too. There's an emphasis on childhood.
Grown-ups can't see them. Only little kids can see them.
The film may highlight kids' agency and openness to the world, and there's a suggestion that the adults are out of touch with what really matters. In E.T., we don't see any adult characters' faces besides Elliot's mom until late in the film, so they seem dark and intimidating. And even Elliot's loving mother comes across as oblivious.
Here he is!
Here's who?
Man from the room, but I think you killed him already.
His films often tell stories of lost innocence, or children getting caught up in complicated, dangerous circumstances. In Schindler's List, the girl in the red coat is almost a transcendent presence. She's one of the only uses of color in the black and white part of the film, a visual beacon of innocence and purity in the darkest times. And this makes the later shot of her dead body all the more horrifying. So Spielberg's message tends to be that childhood is a beautiful time that needs to be preserved as long as possible, but also that that age of innocence inevitably and sometimes tragically has to end.
I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the world.
Still, we can maintain a childlike sense of wonder and possibility as adults. Spielberg's films make us feel you're never too old for adventure and discovering something new.
A whole virtual universe.
The nuclear family is fractured.
Your father and I are getting a divorce.
That might mean a single-parent home.
My husband and I just separated recently, and it hasn't been easy on the children.
Grief or trauma.
But he died when I was a kid.
Or characters with daddy issues.
If you'd been an ordinary average father like the other guys' dads, you'd have understood that.
Spielberg is famously preoccupied with fatherhood, and this comes from his own experience. He was very affected by his parents' divorce, and he had an estranged relationship with his father for many years. So he said E.T. is about his parents' divorce.
Remember when he used to take us out to the ball games and take us to the movies? We'd have popcorn fights.
Elliot's anxiety about E.T. leaving him makes sense, because it's like he's dealing with his father leaving all over again.
You could be happy here. I could take care of you.
In other Spielberg films, the father character might be a workaholic, emotionally distant, or even horribly abusive. Spielberg has said that after reconciling with his father and having children of his own, he started presenting more heroic father characters on screen. He said that he couldn't imagine making Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where Roy abandons his family after he became a dad himself. We also see Spielberg holding out hope that childless men or imperfect fathers can grow into the role.
I wish I had a dad like you.
In Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Indy meets back up with his estranged father.
I respected your privacy, and I taught you self-reliance.
What you taught me was that I was less important to you than people who'd been dead for 500 years in another country.
And as adults, they're able to start repairing their relationship.
Let it go.
Spielberg also celebrates the value of a surrogate father or a surrogate family.
And I was with the only brothers that I have left.
In other films, we see a man who's forced into the role of protector in the scariest possible circumstances and ends up being pretty good at it. So Spielberg suggests that fatherhood is something that has to be earned rather than an innate instinct. And we also see the positive impact of protective patriarchs on communities at large.
They say your factory is a haven. They say you are good.
Spielberg has even said that he sees Abraham Lincoln as the father of the nation in need of repair.
Abolishing slavery by constitutional provision settles the fate for all coming time, not only of the millions now in bondage, but of unborn millions to come.
The characters discover a mysterious dimension that exists alongside their stable, ordinary lives. Spielberg sets exciting adventures in suburban, middle-class communities. So this is similar to his tactic of showing ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. Here, we see the extraordinary in ordinary settings. So Spielberg is channeling that curiosity kids have for their environment and making us feel the ordinary places we know are magical. His appealing combination of weirdness and the everyday has been copied a lot. For example, in a show like Stranger Things. And these movies tend to end with an affirmation of wholesome middle-class values and, quote, normal American life. Jaws validates middle-class masculinity through the fates that it gives to male characters from different classes. In the end, it's the humble, middle-class family man who comes through. It might be the story of the struggle to survive.
The list is life. All around its margins lies the gulf.
And the survival theme might be tied to a character's journey of going home.
E.T. phone home.
In The Color Purple, Celie's whole life is a survival story. as she deals with an abusive marriage and the hardship of being a poor black woman in the Jim Crow South. But Spielberg shows that survival isn't just an individual thing, it's also about helping others live.
It says whoever saves one life saves the world entire.
Spielberg infuses all of these survival stories with hope. He sends the message that life is worth fighting for, no matter what.
James. Earn this.
There's a reflection shot. Jacob Aller at Film School Rejects argues that this shot is often a way of visually symbolizing the character's own self-reflection. And naturally, it also makes us stop to consider who the character is and how we see them.
I bothered you.
Like at the end of Schindler's List, when Schindler looks out of the car window at the Jews he saved. These people look transposed onto the image of Schindler, so the picture emphasizes how interconnected all of these lives have become. In other cases, the reflection shot might represent that the character is fixated on something. There's a long, unbroken take that every frame of painting has named the Spielberg oneer. But unlike other filmmakers, Spielberg uses long takes in an extremely natural way that doesn't draw a lot of attention. Light is used to suggest mystery and the unknown. Roger Ebert has pointed out that where most filmmakers would use darkness to represent the unknown, Spielberg uses bright or glowing lights. And this often makes the unknown seem wondrous rather than purely scary. The light suggests potential to be discovered. The film might show a shooting star. Spielberg has been fascinated with stars and the night sky ever since he witnessed a meteor shower as a kid. But the story goes that the first time a shooting star appeared in one of his films, it was actually a happy accident. Only after Jaws, he made it a motif. Spielberg's work is all about spectacle. He's the highest-grossing director of all time, and he's credited with inventing the modern blockbuster. And perhaps no one has surpassed him in showing just what a blockbuster can really do. Spielberg has given us some of the most epic, awe-inspiring shots in all of cinema, while also evoking personal feeling and intimate connection. Sometimes Spielberg can get looked down on for being sentimental or spelling out the message too clearly.
Tell me I'm a good man.
You are.
But in a world where many of us can't agree on anything, the universality of a good blockbuster becomes an exceptional power. Spielberg has that rare talent for summoning the emotions of every moviegoer, no matter who you are. He knows exactly how to make you feel what he wants you to feel.
I'll be right here.
Hi guys, this is Susanna. A lot of you ask us in the comments about how we make our videos. Well, one of the most important tools we use is Frame.io. Frame.io lets you share your videos with collaborators, and it makes giving comments and feedback a million times easier. You can mark specific time codes, respond to comments, share cuts in a polished presentation, and much more. This is Screen Prism's real Frame.io folder, so I actually had to blur the project name so as not to give away everything we're working on. If you're a video creator, you need to be using Frame.io. Sign up using our link and get 3 months of their pro plan for free. That's a $75 value, so give it a try.